today I have Bradley Sheofee on. Bradley and I met, and I'll let him go more into his story, but Bradley and I met actually through TikTok, which is, just a testament to the power of social media, I think. But we met, and I've been attending a lot of the 1 Million Cups events that he puts on, and we'll get into that later. But cool. Bradley, just tell us a little about what you do and your role.
Sweet. So my name's Bradley Sheofee. I work at the Broken Arrow Chamber, but I work for the Broken Arrow Economic Development Corporation. My title is the longest in the world. It's Director of Business, Retention, and Expansion and Entrepreneurship, which means I just help Broken Arrow businesses grow, get access to resources, and help out in whatever way I can, hoping that they stay here, expand here, and ultimately grow here. So, some of that activity, like you mentioned, is 1 Million Cups Broken Arrow, which we stood up in September, and other programs that I'm involved in or help facilitate are larger statewide programs. Like recently, the Oklahoma Innovation and Expansion Program helps all companies, but mostly companies that produce something that have a lot of employees. It's an incentive program to help them innovate and grow, implement new technologies. And we just found out 9 Broken Arrow companies received incentives. It adds up to, I think, just over $1 million. And that's with probably most of our manufacturers are part of that. But yeah, just help get access to resources, support growth, and whatever that might mean. So, yeah.
I've been so impressed since moving to Broken Arrow, just with the intentionality that like the city in every single role. I mean, whether it's, and we can get more into the separation of the chamber, the city, the EDC, all, I've learned about it from multiple people. I think there's still obviously a little bit of fogginess in my head there.
Sure.
But really what I've seen is just the intentionality in all the different spheres. There's always going to be frustration about there's always construction and there's always this, there's always that. But ultimately it's a push towards growth, and it's a push towards, making the city and a place something that people want to come to and bring their business to. And seeing all those pieces kind of work together is really cool. Maybe you could break down the differences there a little.
Sure. Yeah. Okay. It is a fun little dynamic. So how I like to explain it is there's the city of Broken Arrow, the municipality. That is the city council, all of their functions that they do. And then you got your city employees that work in the parks and rec, the streets, all of the engineering that goes on for infrastructure, really like the tourism. All of the city functions fall under the city of BA. And I'll run through, I'll kind of break that down. So municipality has everyone that I mentioned included in like the construction of infrastructure. But you also have the tourism, which is Visit BA. And then the city has its own economic development team. I call them the TED team. That stands for Tourism and Economic Development. They mostly handle like retail and commercial projects or housing, like anything that involves the citizens of BA is really what falls under the municipality itself. So that's ran by, I mentioned the city council. We have a mayor, but the city itself is ran by a city manager. So all across the country, you'll find a city is ran by either a city manager or a mayor. So like Tulsa, just up the road, is ran by a mayor who's elected every, 4 years. And then everything goes to the mayor's office. But here in Broken Arrow and a lot of cities in Oklahoma are ran by the city manager. We have one of the best, Michael Spurgeon. And so that he facilitates all the day-to-day work. And then we go through approvals with the city council. And so that's how that's managed. Mm-hmm. And then you have the business community, which is where the chamber comes in. The chamber is really, it's a club. It really is. You join the chamber. It's really for benefits is networking. There are business support and business resources through the chamber, but a lot of it is peer-to-peer driven through activities that the chamber puts on. And I think highly beneficial, whether you are a solopreneur running your own deal, or you've got 1,000 employees. I think there's a place for you at the chamber. And then you have the Broken Arrow Economic Development Corporation, which is the organization I work at. And our job is to really enhance I'll call it the economic ecosystem of Broken Arrow. That is I would say the attraction of businesses, the attraction of talent, the retention of businesses, the retention of talent, as well as entrepreneurship I would say is like the last leg of that. And so the Broken Arrow EDC works, I don't know, I like to say like in the gray, because when you talk about the municipality, it's government. Mm-hmm. And government moves fairly slow because of, I would say, like the transparency and the efficacy of what needs to happen in a government. That's why the city, as well as the private investment of our corporate community, stood up the EDC, is so that we could do stuff outside of we'll say, like Freedom of Information Act, right? Which is amazing, and it's really important. It allows you and I to go to the city and say, hey, I would like to know what's going on. You have to tell me everything. Well, when we talk about the EDC activity, some of the stuff we're doing is pretty confidential. Say it's a publicly traded company looking at Broken Arrow to build a really large facility. They might not want their competitors to know they're expanding, or they need to keep that low key because they're a publicly traded company, and stock values and shareholder opinions. Like there's a lot of things that need to be under lock and key. But if the city managed that, anyone can know. So it's advantageous for the EDC to do our work to protect everyone, so that there's no bad optics, whether it's someone at the city who's working behind the scenes, or they don't, just keeps everybody safe. And so I think that's the importance of the EDC, and why we're attached to the chamber is because, one, most chamber members need to know or need to be involved in some of the EDC work, or we're working with a lot of the chamber members. But at the end of the day, we share a CEO. So the chamber CEO and the EDC CEO is the same guy, James Bell. So does that answer the question?
No,
that kind of breakdown?
No, that makes a lot of sense. I mean, and it's like they all have different functions, but what I've seen working so well, and then obviously every organization has stuff that happens inside, and there's always dynamics, but for the most part, from an outside perspective, it seems like everything's working in tandem towards a common goal, which is the betterment of the city, the growth of the business community. And I mean, we talk about 1 million cups. The reason we're in this studio today is because of 1 million cups. I mean, I can say that confidently. Yeah. I wouldn't have met Suzanne, who might be outside this door. I'm not sure. Wouldn't have met Suzanne if she. Let me fix this for a second. You're good. Yeah, I don't think we would be in this studio if it weren't for 1 million cups, because it gave me an opportunity to speak in front of a group of entrepreneurs that, wouldn't have been able to hear what I had to say. Otherwise, maybe they would have, but it gives you an opportunity to, get yourself in a room with people that you wouldn't otherwise. And I know there's all these different things. I was even thinking, like, I put off for a while joining the Chamber of Commerce. Sure. Just joined, I had been to a few chamber events, but, then I had a little bit of a reflection. I'm like, you really, cause you get, like you said not everyone's a doctor, but everyone has, what is it? So
not everybody's a doctor, but everyone has opinions.
Yeah. I mean, and that's very similar for stuff that, you can hear about the chamber, you can hear about anything where it's like, hey, it's not worth it, this, and this. And I had a little moment of reflection recently where I was like, you truly get out of it what you put into it. And the chamber's as great as the members, and the chamber events are going to be as great as the people who give feedback to the chamber.
Sure. Absolutely.
So, I was like, I got to participate more. I want to get involved more. And with everything I'm doing, it's the place I need to be.
100%.
And just, man, this community, just talk about Broken Arrow in general. Like, I just joined the Rotary too. And,
nice. Yeah.
Just an amazing group of people who are like, we want to selflessly serve the community here as a whole, which, moving from Minnesota, there's great people everywhere, but it's just that small town in a big city feel is, I know it might sound cliche, but it definitely feels that way to me.
Yeah, no, and I would agree. I mean, I've lived here my entire life, except the 4.5, 5 years that I moved up the road to Stillwater at Oklahoma State, and then I came right back here. And I mean, you mentioned a few things. One, Broken Arrow. What's cool about Broken Arrow is the people who built this city stayed here. It's not like this was a temporary, they moved here. Cool. My kids went to school here for a few years and now I'm out of here. They really stayed here, built their families here, built friendships here. My family, one of them, I'm third generation Broken Arrow. And I'm proud of it. I really think that this community, it is that, people say different ways, but like the largest small town in Oklahoma, like everyone seems to know each other. I can't go anywhere without seeing somebody that I know or someone knows me. And I like it that way. I used to not. I used to be like, gosh, I wish I could just go into Walmart and not see anyone. But yeah, there's something to Broken Arrow that's like it's really attractive. And not just the Rose District. It's like when you go other places and you run into people or you see someone that you ran into at a chamber event or 1 Million Cups. And it's cool. And it's really friendly faces all around town. And I think from the beginning, Broken Arrow's done a really good job of creating, just that environment for people to connect and continue that connection. That's why it's great that there's only one school system here in Broken Arrow. Like you go to Tulsa, there's a ton of school systems and everyone goes to, Tulsa Public Schools, which has all of these different campuses, and there's not really like a connection point, or there's like Union and there's Booker T and like there's private schools everywhere. And it's just, from when you start kindergarten, there's not necessarily a sense of community other than I'm from Tulsa, you're from Tulsa, we're from Tulsa. And so Broken Arrow having one school system and then these different kind of pockets of the Rose District, New Orleans Square, or, over by Target and Lowe's, there's these different pockets where you can kind of like find your vein as a consumer, as as part of your community or your tribe. But yet there's one central location. And yeah, so I think Broken Arrow's done a really good job for the people who live here to find their place. And it's been like that from the beginning of time. And then you move into where you go to work, you can be a part of the chamber, and go to all these events and not just like make friends, but make connections that are impactful and long lasting. And yeah, it's cool.
Yeah. I mean, and I felt that since I got here, which is funny, not that it's a bad thing or a bad accusation, but for me, seeing it be, best in Broken Arrow and the emphasis on Broken Arrow, I've definitely had some people be, and if I'm at chamber events and I shared chamber stuff, they're like, is this an extension of chamber? Like no, like it just was really sprung off of my marketing agency that I was running when I got down here. And I'm like, man, the power in hyper local social media content, truly, recognition to businesses, something that I saw, and I'm sure you see a lot of, is people have no clue where to start when it comes to marketing for a business, just in general. I mean, in the honest answer is always to just start something, start sharing something. Like social media is the free avenue. Don't overthink what you need to post. Get on camera and share a video. That's, for me, I was in the Rose District right here, shot a video, not a video I would say is high caliber. I said, hey, I'm checking out this spot, very influencer style. Popped in, recorded a couple videos, 50,000 views. They say people are coming in the door. It's not always going to hit like that, but I'm like, there are so many businesses who it's either the $3,000 video package or no marketing. So it's like, how can we bridge that gap? And I don't know, not to talk too much about what I'm doing, but
you're good.
That's really like, that's what sparked it. And I'm like, the love for Broken Arrow, the emphasis on helping small businesses in general. Not that I won't offer bigger packages, but wanting to have an option where it's like, what I saw is people commenting, I've lived here my whole life and I didn't know they existed. And I'm like, how in the world did you not,
Right.
And maybe it's a newer business or whatever.
Sure.
But there are so many amazing businesses here. I mean, I don't know. I did a quick Google search. It said over 2,000. I don't know where you get that number.
Yeah.
But
I mean, I love to tell people that Broken Arrow is such a entrepreneurial community. And that entrepreneurship word is like so long, and I'll use maybe a small business instead. But, from the beginning of time, organically, people have started businesses. They're starting them every day. And that 2,000 number is probably pretty accurate, if not more than 2,000. And I don't know if it's just the people who live here and it's just that like feel, but you have like a global conglomerate and a company called Zico, which I grew up down the street from and knew nothing of what they did. It's just like these giant pipes and then some of the like flare systems. And sometimes they'll pop one and it's like this giant fireball, and I can see it from my parents' back patio. And I had no idea. And then you talk about even like restaurants or like brick and mortar stores that I wouldn't walk into, but they have such cool story. So I would say like Broken Arrow, the people of Broken Arrow and the business of Broken Arrow do a really good job of starting things and taking ideas to reality. But we don't necessarily have a sense of telling that story. And so speaking of stories and your story and just moving here and really buying into the aesthetic and then buying into what makes this community run, I think is one, admirable, but two, it's what makes this such a special place, because you have people outside of this community coming in, seeing that gap and saying, well, I want to be a part of this. I know how to be a part of this, and then jumping right in. It's why I really am passionate about 1 Million Cups and just the opportunity for founders, small business owners, and operators to take that next step in their business. And a lot of the times it's just that access to their next customer. That's all they need. And so, I think, again, Broken Arrow organically is such a business friendly place. But yeah, there's a lot of gaps. And not to go into like a negative, but Broken Arrow, one of the like pillar images of Broken Arrow is the silo we have at the farmer's market. And it's been said that Broken Arrow is a city of silos. And I mentioned earlier, it's kind of like a positive of that. There's all these different pockets in Broken Arrow, but sometimes that can be negative. People can get siloed into their club, their group, their friends, and they stay there. And I think when we talk marketing, we're really just like shooting and posting something. That is your opportunity to get out of your silo, get out of your bubble, and again, meet that next customer, make more revenue, make more profit, provide more for your family. And we learned in going back to 1 Million Cups, we learned that yesterday of just sometimes it just is pulling your phone out, showing someone what you do, and then pressing post.
Yeah. I mean, and talk about, Maddie was great. And she, I went and did a little bit more of a deep dive on her socials after that and realized I had seen a bunch of her stuff on TikTok for a number of months. Yeah. But it definitely provoked me to be like, I need to be posting more content, sharing more content. I am a media company in a sense, right? And that's the thing, is you can get so caught up in overthinking, like, is this going to fit the brand perfectly? Is this going to be polished enough? Is this? But then what we're seeing more and more is we're seeing massive corporations using your everyday, local content creators to share content, because what we're realizing, and this could be a whole nother thing. I won't go down a deep AI rabbit hole, I promise. Sure. But we had a conversation, we had a graphic designer speak, and, the conversation with AI and when to use it, when to not, what tools to use, that we don't need to go on and on about. But the honest truth is, what I'm seeing from a creative perspective is, okay, let's say you're going to use AI. Well, now everyone's going to use it. Yep. where do you differentiate yourself now? And I personally, I mean, I'm no guru, but I see it pivoting back to, the only thing we know is real is like this person actually recording a video on their phone, talking about their business, because it's so easy. And most people know that graphic you made to share, you made that in 15 seconds with no thought.
Yeah.
And now you're just throwing it on my phone and you want me to pay attention to it.
Sure.
So that's where I'm just like the authenticity, the community, the local connection. I mean, the amount of people I've met where I've shook their hand and they felt like they knew me already. Like there's been even some people in different positions with the city or businesses or whatever, where they're like, hey, I've been following you on TikTok since you got down here. And I'm like, hopefully that's a good thing. Right. But it's so cool. And for businesses, it's so powerful. But obviously it comes down to being a time thing. But,
absolutely. And I mean, that it's so funny you say time thing. I like to say capacity thing. It's a capacity thing. When you're running your business, it's a rat race. It is like how fast, and go back to like meeting your next customer. It's how fast can I meet my next customer? But if we looked 20 years ago, 50 years ago, if you owned a brick and mortar store and you were selling ice cream, you knew most of the people that walked in, especially here in Broken Arrow. I mean, you knew everybody's name, and they came to your store because you knew their name. And maybe that's not a reality today, but what is a reality is still making that authentic connection to your customers. And if you don't have the time or capacity to do so, social media is the easiest way. Whether you're selling insurance, you're selling ice cream, you're selling roofs, you have to go where the people are. Back to the point of joining the chamber, you have to go where the people are. And if you don't, you're going to miss them. And I think social media is the easiest way to connect, be authentic, and show what you do. And not everyone takes advantage of it. It's one of those things, and I'm happy to talk AI. I think AI is really important, but there's a saying currently, whether you work in manufacturing or you work in, retail sales, AI is not going to take people's jobs. AI is going to take those jobs of people who don't know how to use AI. And it's just the reality of it. It's not going anywhere. It's just getting better. It's easier to use. I use it as a search engine sometime. I know you're not supposed to, but I'm just asking questions and I'm trying to get to the root of my problem, and AI is the easiest way to do so. I think, I mean, social media is so important and it's so easy. When you get past the realization that it doesn't have to be perfect, people are tuning in to see the real you. I mean, when I think of Instagram, it's the same way. Like even with my friends, I want to just see what's going on in their lives. I don't need to see the polished professional photography. I want to see your kids running around in the backyard and you playing with them. And that's what's real and meaningful. And I think the right way to use social media, and maybe even the right way to do marketing.
Yeah, that's how I feel. I mean, I'm very much, grew up in the influencer time where I watched people from 16 to now they're uber wealthy. And do I want their lifestyle? Maybe not. But I've watched people who have put their lives out online. And but what it was is it's just trying and trying and trying. And that's when I say, Maddie, who spoke yesterday at 1 Million Cups, well, she wasn't an overnight success on social media. Sure. She was going platform to platform and she was putting in the time and putting in the effort. So it's not, that's where I think there is a balance. Like it does require time and effort, but does that need to be overthought is the thing where I personally, I've never done a TikTok trend. I've never done an Instagram trend, a dance, a funny joke like that. Sure. For me, it's always just been, pull out the phone, shoot a video. I mean, it's funny. My most viral videos are the ones I'm like, that's so dumb that went viral. I wish less people saw that. Yeah. But that ultimately, to kind of bring it home on that point, is what I'm trying to do with Best MBA is, give businesses some pieces of marketing content that they can share. That was what I heard from a few people, which was mind-boggling to me, but also super cool at the same time, is hearing some people say, hey, I never really marketed my business until, I had an award I was running for, and it gave me an opportunity to go ahead and market my business. And that for me is like, man, if we can get any more eyes on the businesses here,
sure,
that's the ultimate goal. With the 1 million cup stuff, maybe you could kind of talk about how that came about and like what your ultimate goals are with that.
Yeah. So 1 million cups, how it came about. Well, I'll give you a little history. So I joined this role in September of 2024. I was hired on as business retention and expansion manager, which again is a silly economic development term for business support, is really what it is. I came into this role. I was just ready to try something new. Didn't really have any expectations. In college, I got a degree in business management, and I also got a degree in entrepreneurship. So I've really always had a passion for entrepreneurship, whether that was academic or in practice. But I never really did anything with it. I mean, I have a small business with my brother and my dad, a little construction company that my brother operates, and my dad and I just kind of help out on the back end. So, I've been involved in starting stuff. I did start a couple companies in college, really proud of those. Would love to talk about that. Successfully failed both of those, but we can dive into that later. But always been involved in like starting businesses. I'm like an idea guy, but I never really got to do anything with it. I got my first job out of college, then my second and my third, and then I landed here. And I was just being part of a team. And I never really got to dive into that entrepreneurship. So when I started this role as BR&E manager, I really got to just see what's happening in Broken Arrow. Like, where's the support? Where isn't the support? In about probably, I'd say 6 months into that job, I started noticing that the Broken Arrow EDC in our capital campaign, we made promises on these pillars, business attraction, talent development, talent attraction, workforce development, workforce attraction as well, and which I guess is talent attraction in the same way, and then entrepreneurship. But we weren't doing anything with entrepreneurship. And right about the same time that I joined in this role, our CEO joined in this role as well. He comes from a background of entrepreneurship support, running accelerators, working at a college, teaching entrepreneurship and helping startups work through pitch competitions or other programs and helping launch them. And so he had a passion for it. I did too. We weren't really doing any work about it. So then he had mentioned a couple things, 1 million cups, some other programs. And I just out of ignorance was like, all right, we have to start something. Let's go 1 million cups. So 1 million cups is a national initiative focused in local communities to stand up and support entrepreneurs. Well, that's what I'm passionate about. So I went through the process of becoming an official organizer with 1 million cups. It's through the Kauffman Foundation. So did a couple of trainings, probably around this time last year. And then set a date in September of last year that we're just going to start. And I really didn't know what all was going to be entailed. I didn't know the time commitment, but I knew we had to do something. And so I went and visited 1 Million Cups Tulsa. That's hosted at Gradient in downtown Tulsa. I just sat there and listened and I knew then, and this was after going through all this organizer training that they have, that one, this was something that I could help facilitate, and two, was almost a necessity for small businesses, a place where they can go, they can connect with other folks that are running in the same direction they are. They can feel, I mean, when you're starting a business, it's pretty lonely. It's really lonely. And so secondly, with 1 Million Cups, it provides a place where you don't have to be. You can make connections, friends, then ultimately make an impact on your business, whether that is to keep going, whether it's stop and pivot. But you don't have to be lonely there.
And I felt that heavier than I felt that pretty heavy. That's so
I'm
true.
Sure you did. Yeah.
I mean, it is. It is. I mean, like, that's not to pivot you. I want you to get back to it, but I mean, man, that's so true. I think I had a note where it was almost kind of like manifesto-esque, where I just threw a bunch of stuff at it, but it was like, entrepreneurs like build in isolation, but like it doesn't need to be that way all the time, right? No. And that's something that I think, I to a T 1 million cups has brought for me. So
I mean, I've heard it been said, like when you're building something, whether you're building a business or you're in someone else's business and you're building something up, people around you are gonna be upset that you're not there or you're not present or you don't have time for them, while you're basically isolating yourself to work on this. And then when you get there and you get success, whether again that's your business or someone else's, and you're providing success for others, and then you have time to be present, you have time to give, they're gonna just say, how lucky you are. Oh, this was luck. But you spent all that time building and working, and they cash you out. And it's just, I mean, that's the reality of starting a business.
Cameron Haynes.
It's lonely. Yeah.
He has must be nice on the side of his gym. Cause building his career, just running after a full-time job and managing kids and all those things. And he's like, I didn't do it perfect, but it's like people say must be nice. He's like, it is.
Yeah, I know. Like, it is. But. I know. And that's again, some of my passion lies in that, because I admire those who go through that. But secondly, I've been there, and I know how lonely it gets. And so, I mean, I circling back to 1 million cups. I mean, I just think that it provides just a place for people, for those who are typically lonely in their profession, be able to find connection. And I think it's important. I think it's a necessity. And frankly, the fact that I didn't start it sooner or someone else didn't start it sooner is kind of disappointing. And so that's really where I always want to make it better. I want more people to come. I think more people should be involved because of what I've seen come out of it in just less than a year so far. So part of my vision with that is we average, I would say, about like 15 people a week. I'd rather it be 50. I'd rather outgrow every space that we do it. The fact that it's always free and it's always open to the public, it gets a little wishy-washy because, no one's RSVPing, no one has to go. Right. While it operates like a networking group, I'd say it's very far from it. Networking takes place, but it's not a networking group. And that's, there's plenty of models of networking groups that make a lot of sense. In this specific vertical, I think 1 million cups does it right. And so, I think a year from now, 2 years from now, in my mind, I'm not running it at all. Someone else is, the community is, and I just get to be an audience member, a community member. Putting my economic developer hat on, at the end of the day, we're connectors and conveners. We don't run programs. We don't run businesses. We just connect and convene. And while the EDC's the one, shouldering a lot of the load right now, ultimately we owe it to 1 million cups. We owe it to the community to hand it off to someone else. And that doesn't mean we won't be involved. That doesn't mean we won't contribute. That's just what our responsibility as economic developers is. And so, my vision again is that we average 50 people and we start putting other 1 million cups communities on notice that, whoa, Broken Arrow is the place to be, especially on Wednesdays. And I'd love to plug something else as we get further. But we can, I would love for 1 million cups to get huge, more people to come. We run out of coffee each week. We run out of chairs each week. I've got big, plans for stuff we want to do and to get more people involved, and would love for those to come to fruition. So.
What do you think's going to get us there, or get 1 million cups?
Well, I think it's going back to the capacity point, right? Because we're not operating a business, but we are organizing 1 million cups Broken Arrow in a way that it is like we are. We're providing a product each week. We have outreach, we have marketing, but is it enough? Are we reaching the right audience? Are there some pivots? Are there some disruptions that we can do to get more people to show up? I don't know. So still kind of like working through that. Sometimes I think it just might be more content. we put out quite a bit. Elise, she also works at the EDC.
Yeah.
She does a really great job on social media, but am I doing enough myself to contribute to some of that social awareness via social media? So I don't necessarily know the answer to what will attribute to that growth. But what I do know is we'll continue to have it. I'll continue spreading the word, and we'll keep getting after it.
And the goal is to keep 1 million cups as that meeting that goes on, even after a handoff, under that organization.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. And I think I've gotten some ideas from people of like, they're like, oh, why don't we have like a 1 million beers and it's like a happy hour and it's something like that. But for me, that's totally separate, because we're bringing in someone else's idea, someone else's program.
I got to go on a little tangent here. All right. So, and like you said, capacity for sure. Sure. People have jobs, people have businesses, of course, all the things I get it. But the honest truth is there are people who say something should exist, and then there are people who go make it happen.
Sure.
And that's something that I've admired about you, in I think why we've connected since I've gotten down here is like, I love the ideas. I have more ideas than I can run after. It's a blessing and a curse.
It is.
But if you have an idea in the community, go do it.
I know.
Like, there's a need for it. You're not gonna, you're not competing with 1 million cups. There's a need for all of this. If you have an idea and you throw it at someone, Bradley in this example, but who already has a full-time job, who's already running 1 million cups, who's already sacrificing for these things. And then you're like, hey, how about this brand new idea at a completely different time? Like, people have capacity to go do it. Like, go start it. Like, get a group of people. It doesn't all have to be on your back. It doesn't need to cost a lot of money. It can be very grassroots. Like, I mean, even I think of, with this best NBA stuff, like I have grand visions for all of it. Like I have a lot of goals with it and what it will come of it. But last year it started where it was literally, I just started nominating people and just saying, this is what this is. And people are like, I didn't know this existed. I'm like, I didn't know it existed. And then it did, right? And just like that. And obviously that's oversimplifying it, but there are so many businesses who have gripes with how things go in the community, but you're that catalyst to the change here. Like, you can be the one who steps out and puts yourself in an awkward situation. Yeah. But ultimately, like you said, there's a need for it. And maybe the 8 a.m. is not going to be for people. What, maybe a meeting over beers? Great. Sure. Like, go start it. Like,
I completely agree.
I don't know. I feel strongly about that. And I try not to sound rude because I know everybody has their own situations. Everybody has stuff going on. I get it. But, to just complain about things that don't exist, and either don't complain about it or go do it.
Yeah, I agree. I live in that camp, and I preach the same thing, because a lot of these people who have these ideas or have these opinions are small business owners, are operators, are entrepreneurs, and at one point in their life, they did exactly that. They got uncomfortable. They had an idea. They made it happen. And then at some point, whether their idea got too big, their business got too big, they started losing that activator model. And they went to I'm just sharing this opinion, hoping that somebody else goes and does it. Mm-hmm. When just a few years ago, they were that person who went and did it. And that full circle to that silo conversation is, it doesn't just happen with groups of people; it happens with individuals as well. And they become just I would say a whiner instead of like a doer. And I think it's cyclical, right? Because it's those people have that intrinsic do. They'll get back to it. But it's I mean, I run into that every day. Everyone tells me a new idea. But I also like to start things and get after things too. So I appreciate it, but
there's a place for the ideas to be shared, but then there's 100%. Also I think a posture for it to be delivered with, like if I bring an idea to you, out of going like, hey, I think this could help improve it versus why aren't we doing this?
Yeah.
I think there's a huge difference.
Absolutely.
You know, I don't think necessarily that the 1 million beers or whatever, which is crazy. That's crazy amount of beer.
Yeah, that's a lot of beer.
Not for everyone. But yeah, I mean, I think that idea, you know, could have been delivered in a great way, but it's like, hey, you know, different thing doesn't fit the medium for what we're doing. I have some high school students in my youth group, right? And we see this doesn't even need to be specific to that, but high school age, they're going, do I go to college for something I don't know? Yeah. Or I feel this weird pull to start a business and go after it. How would you talk to someone in a situation like that? I've seen that with so many friends and students. And
yeah, I'm going to answer it in a few different ways. So the first way is that I think college is, if you don't know what you're going to do in life, I think college is great to go to. Not only for the academic reasons and getting a degree, but because of the experiences you get to have. For many people, not everyone, but for many people, college is the first time you're alone, and you have to get outside your comfort zone. You have to go make new friends. You have to learn things that you have never experienced in school. The difference in high school to college, just the school part, is insane. It's totally different. And for the first time in a lot of people's lives, the onus is on you, the person. Your parents aren't there to wake you up in the morning. Your parents aren't there to make sure your homework gets done. And just that experience and that regiment, I think, is really important. So if you don't know what you're going to do, I think I always recommend to go to college. I know it's expensive, is what it is. Mm-hmm. There's plenty of resources out there. You can make it work. Mm-hmm. On the other end of that, I am such a proponent of be a risk taker. For a high school kid, you don't really ever get to take risks. It's back to that, like, I think you should go to college. It's risky. You get outside your comfort zone. Be a risk taker. If you've got an idea for a business, you see a gap and you're like, this could be something, I'm like, go do it. However, a lot of the times you can do that while you're in college. It's true. You get a lot of resources, you get a lot of access in college. So for that specific question, I'm like, dude, go to college. Because really, for me, college changed my life. You know, my story is that my parents forced me to go to college. I wanted to go, I felt the pull to actually go into ministry right after high school. The church I go to, Life Church, has a really great path for graduates of high school to just go into ministry. They do a really good job of development. I had some friends do that. They didn't go to college. They went straight in. And I was like, that's where I'm supposed to be. But my parents saw the bigger picture and had a wider lens than I did, and basically made me go to college. And I can't thank them enough for that. And then the experiences that I got in college, going through a degree path in entrepreneurship, totally opened my world to where I'm supposed to be. And I mentioned earlier, and I'll give you the teaser or the dime tour of starting my own businesses in college. So I started two. The first one was birthed out of a class, and the company was called Artemis Gear. And Artemis Gear was battery-powered heated clothing for hunters, outdoorsmen, ranchers. And the product itself was a battery-powered vest, heated vest that would go under your clothes. We were taking a tactical vest, a bulletproof vest, and putting heating elements in it. And I was really proud of it. Was really passionate about it. There is heated clothing. There's plenty of brands. I mean, you can go on Amazon and buy a heated jacket, a battery powered heated jacket. There is a unique value to a vest and what that can do for your core temp, and what that just a few degrees can do. All right, I'll go into the tagline.
Nerd out a little bit here.
The tagline, or kind of our tagline is, to make you go further or go farther, whether again, you're a hunter, you're a hiker, you're skiing, is like, yeah, that go further, or yeah, go something like go longer, go further, something to that effect. The problem was I was learning how to start a business in class, and I was doing it the complete wrong way in practice, which was hilarious. So I mentioned it was birth through one of the courses I was taking. So I inherited my founding group, which in that same class they told you not to do. And they weren't as passionate about I was, because the following year, the classes that we were all taking together was financial analysis and VC planning and all this. So we were running all these silly numbers, and they saw the potential of what the business could be, but there was no like passion behind it. So ultimately, that business died after we won money in pitch competitions and business plan competitions. We were doing everything the right way. There was just not everyone had the passion that I did in all reality, and so that just didn't go. But would love to pick that up one day, because I still think there's value. I still think people would buy it.
I see the passion for sure.
Of course, I've got the prototype in my my toolbox. One of my toolbox drawers is there's a prototype, and maybe I'll pick that up one of these days. But I learned so much doing that, in reaching out to people I didn't know across the country, whether they were like a battery manufacturer or a textile manufacturer, learning about different like materials that could go on the vest. Like apparently neoprene on its own raises your core body temp something like 12%. So like dive suits, whether you're like a wet or a dry suit, just having that neoprene on your body like keeps your body heat in at least to 12%, right? And then when you add like a heating element, it's just, there's so many things I just learned about. Maybe it's science, maybe it's just material science, but at the end of the day, all of those experiences helped me to where I am today. Even though like I failed my business. That's why I like to tell people I successfully failed my business, because of what I learned. And to be frank, we won money that we got to pocket at the end of it. I mean, it was so helpful in whether it was just learning or executing things. It was so helpful. And then I started a second business. It was my capstone project for my entrepreneurship degree. Basically an Airbnb business model for parking spots. So for like game days, or at Oklahoma State, they're doing these like concerts to raise NIL money. So it was this like model, like Airbnb a parking spot. So around campus at OSU, there's housing, and a lot of these houses have multiple parking spots, like on the driveway or in the area, because these builders or renovators had in mind that there's going to be multiple college kids that live here. Maybe they don't know each other. I can rent out a room, so they need a parking space. So with all of that, that was my idea, to create a model, take the Airbnb business model just for parking spaces. It's called Parking U. It was really silly. But what came out of that class was after I graduated, after I finished that, they actually changed that course, that they gave each student an idea, and then that they would take that idea that they were given and run a business or start a business off of it. So it became less of like an idea course and more of an execution course. And they ended up keeping that Parking U idea and letting other students run with it. So I saw, or at least they said that. I'll back up. At least they told us that. And then I saw maybe last year a student actually present that same idea.
That's cool.
And so at least I think they kept going with that. Or I'm also a believer that there's no new ideas. There's no such thing as a new idea. So maybe someone else just had the same idea. But in my mind, that's what happened, which I thought was pretty cool. So
that sounds like an amazing, I have a business degree, entrepreneurship emphasis. Your school resources sounded amazing. I mean, and that's the thing too. It's like, if you see a world where you might go into entrepreneurship or owning a business, man, finding a good college that has entrepreneurship resources, that's one of the things too, especially, if you have good professors or school resources, their level of connections, their network of people that you're going to, I mean, quickly for me, I went to a small private Christian school, and I mean, I wouldn't like go on raving about my entrepreneurship path, because one of the entrepreneurship classes was pretty much just project management, because the guy had never started a business or done anything entrepreneurial. So I'm like kicking myself on that one. But my senior seminar class, I mean, it was a smaller school, so there was only 6 of us in the class with the professor. And I had started a window cleaning business, like not a new idea, with a buddy, and we had been doing that, and we had like a little almost Shark Tank sort of pitch type situation where they brought in some local entrepreneurs, business owners. They were alum from the school, and I did a rebrand. I kind of pitched the idea of, pitched my business, pitched whatever, it was window cleaning, but got connected with an entrepreneur who, very matter-of-fact type guy, running a successful air duct cleaning company. 6 to 8 trucks out, whatever, like he's done it. And I sit down in his office, and he's like, I can't find you anywhere online, like this, and this. Like, are you serious about it? And his brother too, his brothers are even more intense than him. He's like, my first piece of advice I give to entrepreneurs is don't do it. He's very calloused, of course, but he's just like, you have to want it. So anyways, I mean, just even that for me was like, it was a catalyst to rebranding. And I mean, and then you look back and you're like, I wouldn't be anywhere where I was if I didn't go that path. And there's not one right path, but that's where I say like the college model, because you have people on the hard other end where I would say, at least for me, what I've seen in the business space is be careful who you're getting your entrepreneurial advice from. Because what I see a lot of young, and I guess I'm old enough now, or I say young kids going into is it's day trading, selling courses, online fitness coaching, all these things. But the guys who are advising it, man, they're not of, I would say, good character, who I would really want to. Do you want to be like them? Do you want to pursue those things? And when, are you starting an entrepreneurial endeavor for the money? Because if you're starting it just for the money, I can promise you're going to fail or hit fatigue at some point.
Absolutely.
There can be a huge incentive where, hey, I can see the upside of this. There has to be that. You have to be like, but man, if you're going into something just for the money, you're going to hit a fatigue point. And then you're going to be like, man, I should have gone to college, So that was a long way on that. I loved your points on it. I think it's not super black and white. But I'm like, unless you've maybe started something, or you feel like, hey, this is a path that I want to keep going. To not go to college just because you're like, I want to be. It's not that you're not going to be an entrepreneur if you go to college. So.
I mean, I think that's okay. I want to answer this in a few different directions. One, in entrepreneurship, you bring up a good, I think we both kind of hit it, but there's like the entrepreneurship in academics and entrepreneurship in practice, excuse me. And there's a lot of friction between the two, because just like you, I had professors who were teaching entrepreneurship courses who never started their own business. Or if they did start a business, it was just a consulting business, which is great, fine. You're running your own business. But I was a product-based company, or one of the companies I started was a product-based company, and I had no teachers who were product-based teachers. And so, there's this like friction between academic and practice. But that exposure in college to resources is almost invaluable. Now, quick plug, that's what the EDC is trying to build. Resources for whether you're in high school, you were in college, or you never went, or you're out of college. Where can I go to get resources to start a business in Broken Arrow? So one of them I always recommend, just show up to 1 Million Cups. Just that connection, the connections that you can make there are very impactful. It doesn't cost you anything. And you get some free coffee, and I think it's really fun. The second thing is we are standing up a growth cohort, meaning we are bringing 8 to 10 businesses, 1 to 3 years old, who are in revenue to be a part of a cohort for 8 weeks starting in August. And the value that we're providing in this cohort is, I like to say, front door market access, advisor services from not just entrepreneurs around town, but operators that can help meet your immediate needs. So I'll paint a picture like this. Let's say that you have a widget, so like you make something tangible, and it's a new tire, right? It's a rim or airless tire. Like, oh, I have this idea for an airless tire. I have a prototype that's been sitting in my garage for 2 years. I just need someone to make it. Well, what we're going to provide you is an advisor or a mentor who is in your space, can either help make it for you or introduce you to that person who makes rubber, or they manufacture molded products, right? And so that's the whole goal with this cohort, is to bring people together who are still young enough in their business that they are propelled for scale or for growth. And we're just helping speed that process up. And so, more to come on that, but this growth cohort is going to be pretty valuable for the people of Broken Arrow, businesses of Broken Arrow. And I really think that the value that something like that can provide is true. Like, it's truly impactful. It's not just going to be another activity. We're providing an opportunity for outcomes. And I don't see a lot of these courses providing that even just around the area and in the Tulsa region as a whole. It's a lot of support, a lot of help, but no one's really helping people get to the finish line or keep going in the race. It's a lot of prep and training. But we want to provide an opportunity for real outcomes. Something I say all the time: outcomes over activity. Because even in just the work that I do in economic development, or let's talk about the chamber, we do a lot of activity, but how often do we see outcomes? And I just, maybe it's that little entrepreneurship bug I have, but I want to see like real outcomes take place. And so that's something we're really, really working on, is providing resources for the people in Broken Arrow, the businesses in Broken Arrow to succeed. We're not going to run your business, but we're going to give you every tool you need to run your business. And to be frank, and I kind of actually like that advice you got from the air duct cleaning. Sometimes an entrepreneur needs to be told no or to stop, because people like us will just go. And sometimes it's important for people to come alongside you and say, hey, stop, let's go a different direction. Let's take your skill set and go a different direction, because you're going to run yourself into the ground. Yeah. And so I actually like that advice. And to be honest, some of the hope in some of this programming that we'll do is that we get to be that for somebody, and not in a bad way, but in a holistic and positive way. And so, yeah.
No, that's so awesome. And I think that I could go for hours and hours with you on specifically that. I know. But I mean, I just want to say to you, like, I'm so grateful that we have someone entrepreneurial minded in the seat that you're in. And I'm grateful for all that you've done with 1 Million Cups, and it's done a lot for me. And man, we're going to have to do this again. Sure. But I appreciate you coming on, and anything you want to leave people with?
No,
come to 1
for
million
one.
Cups.
Yeah. I also feel like we're just kind of getting started. I have a belief, like, it doesn't have to be me, but I will always be a part of this work in whatever way I can. I mean, I'm the only Bradley Sheofee in the entire world. So if you ever need to get a hold of me, just Google me. There's no one else named Bradley Sheofee. It might be an old Twitter account I had years ago. But yeah, if you ever need to get a hold of me, you can Google my name. I'm the only one. So my email's online, my socials are my name. And so would love to support anyone I can here in Broken Arrow. Or if you're outside of Broken Arrow and you want to move here, give me a shout. I'll help you out. And so, thanks for thanks for this. We'll definitely do it again, and I'll bug you until you get me on again. But
sounds good.
We'll get after it.
Well, come see us at 1 Million Cups on Wednesday. So
at 8 a.m.
Arts at 3:02. Arts at 3:02. Thanks, Bradley.
Yeah.